At the request, or maybe the behest, of a pope, Michelangelo painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. That was a large canvas, so he chose to depict an appropriately sizable story, that being the creation of Adam by God, certainly a portentous moment in Catholic theology, and the subsequent fall of man due to sinfulness, which I think is exactly the arc of life as we experience it individually, from the innocence of birth on through to the decay and corruption of death. And I think it is also true of everything that exists, that it goes from a relatively supreme state of order, of purity, to ashes and dust by a process which might be gradual or rapid of entropy, everything tending to be uninformed bits or chunks of matter. This is true for people, plants and animals, planets and stars. And it is also true for nations. One may rise to an eminence that is the envy of all, but that shining state is on a fatal trajectory, doomed to slip into decline and fall and eventual eradication. When I was younger, I would consider the leaders of Rome, ancient Rome, the Roman Empire, the emperors, the Caesars, the consuls, the senators. What a crew they were. An amazing, astounding assemblage of perverts, scoundrels, gluttons, debauched and depraved, power-hungry brigands. They plotted against one another, murdered each other, partied endlessly, completely abandoned morality, kept the riffraff happy or at least subdued by giving them a steady diet of bread and circuses. In all, it was a loathsome and deplorable spectacle, so unlike the modern, chaste, streamlined, super-functional state I lived in, the current greatest power on earth, the good old, not really so old at all, U.S. of A. What a wonder we were. Within the brief span of my years, I have come to see that same sad, spectacular story play itself out in my homeland. I've seen the same seemingly endless cast of clowns and cutthroats rise to power, scheming endlessly to get it, to keep it, only to see it slip away. And I was there to help it along. I was part of a generation that was given everything, and having received that extraordinary blessing, the freedom from all want and care, it was only natural that we would, at long last, save the world, send it on its one true sane course of peace and prosperity. Ouch! We not only failed to redeem the world, we also lost our way at home. We ruined our country, ran it into the ground, devastated it beyond any hope of reclamation. We fucked it up in every possible way. Not being needy, we were greedy. Our national debt is fast approaching $20 trillion, a celestial figure, a fantasy, an illusion, a total collapse. Why bother to tabulate it? Is just one more folly. And our leaders, we could give old Rome a good run when it comes to wretched behavior and twisting the truth, and when it comes to sedating the population with poppy promises and narcotic oaths. We've had leaders who defy the limits of the imagination. In the latest election contest currently in progress, we have a choice between a fatuous, bombastic blowhard of a buffoon and a hypocritical harridan, that's an old horse or a shrew, who would do anything to win just for the sake of winning and call it selfless service. And we must face it, one of these two despicable people is going to win and be our nominal leader, unless, and this is our only hope, they tear each other to pieces on the campaign trail and we have to turn to someone else to be the captain of our poor, ill-fated ship. There are several satirical shows on the television now projecting versions of our government, comic and cynical, but none is as grotesque as the reality. It has not been pleasant to witness this. It was a terrible, shameful, odious waste. It seemed like the more power we got, the more damage we did. Our genius drove us into hell at supersonic, nuclear-powered speed. We arrived before we knew where we were going. Very little of what we've done was intentional. Our greatest achievement seems like an empty vanity. Hey, we made it to the moon, while our wonderful country sickened and died. And on its gravestone we can write, we did the best we could.